Hey guys, so in this video what we want to do is we want to figure out how to find our maximum profit as well as our profit maximizing quantity of output for a perfectly competitive firm. Okay, so remember in perfect competition, right, this is our benchmark for maximum competition, right, and neither the firms nor the consumers are going to be price takers, right? So no one is setting the price and no one is taking the price. It's all going to be determined by the market, right? So assume we have this vague, arbitrary graphs, right? So we have our marginal cost, that's this U shape right here, and we have our average total cost, which is this U shape right here, and then we have a flat demand curve. Okay, this flat demand curve is basically going to be equal to our marginal revenue. Okay, because the marginal revenue is just going to be the additional amount of money that the firm is earning per unit that they produce, right? And that's going to depend on the number of buyers, right? Because the price is essentially fixed at this point, right? So the additional amount of money that the firm earns is going to be constant for every one person that buys it, right? Okay, so now we want to figure out what our profit maximizing quantity is going to be, okay? So remember the rule that we talked about in class, right? The rule was that our marginal cost has to be equal to our marginal revenue, okay? That was the rule. So when the marginal cost is equal to our marginal revenue, right, what does this mean? Well, this means that the additional cost incurred by the firm for producing some good or service, right, the additional cost that they incur is equal to the additional amount of money they will earn from selling that good or service, okay? And when the marginal cost is equal to our marginal revenue, that's when the firm basically stops producing, right? So where does that happen on this graph? Well, it happens right here, right, at the intersection of marginal cost and marginal revenue, okay? This is our marginal revenue, and this is our marginal cost, right? So at this point, MC is equal to MR, okay? And if you need to sort of go back and see why the MC is this U shape and why our average total cost is looking like this U shape, then I would recommend you go back to the chapter 11 lecture slides where we talked about technology, production, and costs, and also revisit briefly chapter 12 where we sort of begin to go into perfect competition. Okay, but for now, let's go along with what we have here. So we know that our marginal cost has to be equal to the marginal revenue, and this is going to give us our profit maximizing quantity, right? So I'm just gonna label this as Q star sub PM, which refers to the profit maximizing quantity of output. Okay, so the firm wants to produce that much. Okay, so the firm wants to produce at this level right here. Okay, so we know how much the firm wants to produce, right? We know that this quantity is going to maximize our profit, but what exactly is the profit, right? How exactly are we going to find that profit, right? Well, let's first think about how we calculate profit, not using the graph, right? Not visually, but just what is the expression for profit? And if we remember that profit is simply just equal to our total revenue minus our total cost, right? Profit is just going to be equal to the total amount of money we get from selling some good or service, and then we're going to subtract off the amount of our cost, right? The cost meaning how much it took the firm to actually produce that good or service, right? So the example that I gave in class was that, say I'm selling cheesecakes, right, and my total revenue from selling those cheesecakes, let's say, is $50, okay? So I sell each cheesecake at a price of maybe $5. I sell 10 cheesecakes, right? So I'm going to make $50, okay? Let's say my total costs, meaning the ingredients I bought, right, the vanilla extract, the cream cheese, all that kind of stuff, as well as my labor, let's say the total cost comes out to be $10, right? So my profit is actually $40, right? That's how much money I'm actually profiting from, right? That's how much money I'm going to pocket really at the end of the day, okay? So we know that profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. So let's continue to simplify this. Well, our total revenue is just the price times the quantity, right? So our total revenue is just the price that we're selling this good at multiplied by the number of units we're actually selling. And our total cost is just the average total cost of each good, right? Of each unit, sorry, that we're selling multiplied by, well, the quantity that we're selling, right? If on average it costs me $1 to make each cheesecake and I'm selling 10 cheesecakes, right, then my total cost comes out to be about $10, right? So that's how we're going to write this very simplified. But now let's continue to simplify this even more. Well, we have one term here, right? We have our P times Q, and then on the right hand side we have our ATC times quantity. Well, the like variable here is our quantity, right? So we could actually just factor out the quantity, right? And we'll be left with P minus ATC times Q, right? We're going to be left with P minus ATC times Q because we're taking out the Q variable from both of these terms. And now if we were to distribute this, we would get P times Q minus ATC times Q, right? So really we're writing it just in a different format, okay? So what we're really left with is our profit is equal to our price minus the average total cost times the quantity, right? Well, great, but here I haven't given you any numbers, right? On the graph, I haven't really given you any numbers, but lucky for us, we actually have these arbitrary lines, and we can use these lines, right? We can use these curves to figure out where the profit would be visually on our graph. Okay, so we know that our profit is equal to the price minus the average total cost times the quantity, right? Well, if we now go back to our, if we go back to this graph, actually first let me copy this and paste it at the top so we can all see it. Right, we know that the profit is equal to price minus ATC times the quantity. Well, here all I have to do now is find where the price is. Well, the price is right here, right? Minus the ATC. Well, where is the average total cost? The average total cost is right here, right? But which point on the average total cost are we looking at? Well, we're looking at this point, right? Because this is the quantity, right? This is the quantity that the firm wants to produce. So the point we're going to be looking at is this point right here. Okay, we're looking at this point right here. Okay, so let's make a black dot here. Okay, and we're going to come all the way on the y-axis. Okay, so what we're going to have is this is our ATC, right? That's our average total cost at this level of production. Okay, and notice now we're left with this green triangle, right? So let me just shade this in. We're left with sorry, not triangle, I said triangle. We're left with this green rectangle, right? We're left with this green rectangle, and this green rectangle is our profit, right? And it's not just our profit, but this is our maximum profit, right? This is our max profit from producing this level, right? From producing this level of output, okay? And notice that the area of this rectangle, right? Not triangle, I said triangle earlier, but the area of this rectangle is actually just what? It's just base times height, right? Well, what's the base? The base is the quantity, right? The base is the quantity because we're going from this point here to this point here. And what's the height? Well, the height is just P minus ATC, right? The height is from this point to this point here, okay? So the height is just P minus ATC, and the base is our Q. Well, check it out. It actually checks out, right? Visually what's going on is checking out with the math that we did for profit. So we know now that the area of this rectangle here is going to be our, not just profit, but it's going to be our maximum profit, okay? So that's how we wanna approach these problems. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna find our QPM star, right, which is gonna be our profit maximizing quantity for the firm, and then we're gonna use that to figure out, okay, where does that intersect our average total cost? Wherever that intersects our average total cost, that's our rectangle. Okay, that's gonna be our rectangle, and then we're gonna use that to figure out our profit, our maximum profit. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, and in the next video we'll talk about profit maximizing under a monopolistically competitive firm.